Hi, everybody. My
That's
name
great.
is Robyn Frank-Smith. I'm an adjunct professor and the adjunct program coordinator for psychology programs at Wilmington University in Newcastle, Delaware in the United States. I've been with Wilmington University since about 2015, and for the last few years, I have taught exclusively in the asynchronous online environment. So these are some techniques that I've been using for the last few years. I've sort of constantly been reinventing the wheel based on changes to learning, changes to the asynchronous online environment, including but not limited to the pandemic, student needs, student feedback, and other aspects of the asynchronous online environment with which I've become familiar in the past few years. And these are some things that work for me. Some of you might do some of these same things, and some of them might be new for you. So I'm going to start with talking about challenges to connection and engagement in online learning. And most of us, certainly those of us who have done asynchronous online teaching, understand a lot of these. And I'm going to take the first three together: isolation, motivation, and explanation discussion, because these are all sort of tied together. So isolation is pretty obvious. You're not in a face-to-face classroom with your professor and with your peers, engaging in discussion, listening to the professor's lecture and having some explanation about more difficult concepts that are a little more difficult to learn in the asynchronous online environment, where you are reading a lot of material and writing a lot of papers and doing a lot of exercises, but don't necessarily have someone to whom you can ask your questions in real time if you get a little stuck and don't quite understand. And then you're required to email back and forth to reach the professor, or whatever other method has been set up for that asynchronous online class. And that can impact your motivation. It can be harder to become motivated to do your work when you're sitting by yourself at a computer and you're isolated from everyone else. You're not getting the explanation. You're not getting the discussion board you have in an asynchronous online class, which is so inorganic. And not at all the same as having an in-person discussion in a group where, you're all talking again in real time, and you can add to that conversation. The professor can jump in and steer it in different directions. And it's just an entirely different feel. So these people feel isolated. They have some issues with their motivation, especially for a lot of asynchronous online students that are non-traditional, who have jobs and families. It's at the end of a long day sometimes when they're able to log on, and it can be hard to do that. And you're not getting the explanation and discussion you need to enhance your learning. Distraction is also an issue, not only for the reasons I've said before, but also, for a lot of us, we need to be in the environment in a face-to-face classroom with somebody eyeballing us, making sure we stay on task. Otherwise, we do get distracted by different things. For example, if I'm working on a computer, I'll think, hey, I'll check out what's going on Facebook right now. Or I might have the television playing in the background and something will catch my eye and I'll watch that. People with children have children running in and out. They have pets running in and out. You have work things that are interrupting you. All the different distractions you might have. And then a lot of students who take asynchronous online classes don't have reliable Wi-Fi. So maybe they're going to a Starbucks or a McDonald's to do their class. And that's also very distracting. Exhaustion is an issue, not only for some of the reasons I said before. People are working and have families, and sometimes they're taking these asynchronous online classes because they don't have a regular scheduled time where they can go to a face-to-face class because of work or family, but also because of the pandemic, taking more online classes than they once did, and just generally being exhausted. And it becomes harder to get engaged in the online class when you're exhausted. And that also impacts attitude. And for those of us who've been at this for a while, we've seen a great deal of attitude shift in students in the past few years, keeping in mind that, the upper class students right now are ones that started university during the pandemic, and things really changed. And the underclassmen now, your first and second years, had a lot of interruptions to their learning and preparations for going to university. And many of them are finding now, and it's being reported, that they feel that they aren't prepared for university level work because they really didn't learn as they might have in past years. So there's that causes them to, need some attitude adjustments and have an attitude shift of what's possible, what's reasonable, what they can and should do, how much the professor should help them, how much grace or empathy there should be in the online environment and in face-to-face. So those are different things to consider. I have here a little meme because we're going to talk about discussion boards, and I'm going to let that sit for a minute, but we'll get to that. So there's certain things that I do promoting and supporting student engagement. And something that is typical at my university is we do a Meet the Instructor video. And maybe that's something you do as well, where you record a short video so the student can see you and hear you and know your style. And be greeted on the first day of class. Hi, here's who I am. Here's what my background is. Here's what we're going to do this week. And I try to keep the Meet the Instructor video fairly short because I will also do mini lecture videos every week, which I will get to in just a second. But before that, after the Meet the Instructor video, I have pre-course announcements. Usually about a week before the course begins, I might send an announcement. If you're at a university where you have a lot of last-minute enrollments, you can reiterate those when the class begins and tell students that were late to enroll to please go back and check the older announcements, because I also do weekly announcements. But the pre-course announcements help get students ready, and they give them material they can keep and take them through the block. For example, I might give them samples of links to the APA style website, because in my class they have to use APA formatting. I will give them information on academic integrity and what's expected by way of citation or direct quotes. I might give them, I have a thesis tool that I use that for my class, they have to have a thesis paragraph. So I'll give them a thesis tool. Here's how you create the thesis. Here's what a thesis is. Here's what you are to consider. This sounds pretty elementary, but I do get students, even my upper level classes, that don't know how to do a thesis. So I start them off with giving them that information. And the feedback I've gotten from students is that they wish more instructors would do that, because, even when we were all in school, every professor was a little different. And this is telling them on the front end, here's materials you can use. Here's some samples. This is what's expected in this class. And they know that. And then if there's any deviation from that when they start doing their work, you can always direct them back to that information, which makes your life a little easier as well, because you have something to show them. Please refer back to this. This is what I'm expecting. So pre-course announcements with examples, then weekly announcements as well. I'll do one at the beginning of each week with important announcements for the class or telling them what to expect from that week's class, and midweek announcements as well, where I will give them reminders about things that may be due or anything else that may come up during the week. So the recorded mini lectures, something I noticed when I started doing asynchronous online pretty regularly is that a lot of students, because they're reading the assignment instructions, but no one's really explaining the assignment instructions to them like you would get when you're in a class, or the assignment is on a particularly difficult concept that really does require some practice and some explanation, which they're not getting in the asynchronous online environment. I started recording mini lectures. Now, my mini lecture in week 1 is a little bit longer because I will go over things that they will take with them through the whole class. Like I might go over important parts of the syllabus, and I'll point out the expectations that I might have mentioned in the pre-course announcement. I might give them tips and tricks for what I expect from different types of assignments. Here's what I really expect to hear from you in the discussion board, and here's how to differentiate your posts. Please try to, maybe use one of these methods to really think about the topic in a different way and differentiate your post. I will then go over the assignments for the week, make sure everyone understands them. Something I do that students really enjoy is I might talk about mistakes students have made in the past. If I have to pick out a mistake that most students have, more students have made this mistake than the other mistake, here's what that mistake is. That tells them, here's what I am to avoid. It helps focus them on what they are meant to focus on. I will, I might go over other expectations about what should be in their paper or exercise or etc. And something that I have found since doing this is that student work is Much, much better. It's much better across the board. Students that did good work before do even better work, but most of the students are turning in far superior work than they did. I can actually tell who hasn't watched the mini lecture videos based on the work they're turning in. And when I talk to those students, in fact, they have not. And when I encourage them to do so, their work improves as well. I have gotten more good feedback about these mini lecture videos. And I am the person in my department who reads all faculty in our department's end of course surveys. And this is probably the most repeated thing of any end of block survey for any faculty ever. There are always at least several students who mention the mini lecture videos and how much they appreciate them and how they wish their other professors did that and feel like students would learn so much better if they had that explanation, and that it's something that's really missing in the asynchronous online environment when they're not there with the professor to get that sort of explanation and discussion. Targeted scaffolded grading and feedback with an eye towards skill building. Now you're probably going, well, of course we give feedback. But this is the sort of feedback where I'm trying to make them feel as if they're in the same room with me and I'm going over with them. Sometimes if your LMS has the option to record feedback, a lot of students like that as well. And if you have a lot of feedback to give, you can record their feedback to walk them through what you're seeing. But something that I will do so that I can give them extensive, targeted, scaffolded, individualized feedback without taking an hour for every assignment to write all of this up, is I've developed certain techniques. I will, for example, if their writing is poor, they need to proofread more, I will mark a few examples, tell them what the examples are. Then I might say, I've marked a few examples for your review. Can you find others in your work? That way I'm not red penning their entire pencil, which is frustrating for them and takes a lot of time for me, but I am showing them you have these issues, please be mindful of this. Here's some examples. And that always invites them to ask me if they can't find any others, or if they don't understand what's wrong with their paper. I might give them some food for thought, like, I really like what you said here. Have you thought about this in another way? So it gets them thinking about the topic in a different way. I make sure, and everything that is sort of the more important non-negotiable parts of the rubric or their expectations, I will make sure and understand if they do them improperly. For example, if they're not connecting the material, if they're not citing any sources to support their ideas and conclusions, which is a clear part of our rubric, but a lot of students will come in and don't quite understand that. I'm happy to explain to them in the early weeks, when I do give more feedback in the early weeks. You offered a reference page, but you didn't do any in-text citations. Here's what the in-text citations do. Here's what the reference page does. I'll make sure they understand the why of this, because when they understand the why, they're likely to remember that, make that connection, and do that in the future. Then if they continue to make these mistakes, I can refer back to prior feedback and maybe set an appointment with them to talk about it as well. But you can always refer back to prior feedback saying, this is a little, even if they've improved, this is an improvement, but I'd like to refer you to the prior feedback. Please take a look at this and make sure that you do this thing. I do leave quite a bit of feedback, but those are ways where you can have that sort of extensive feedback while only writing a few lines, but they're still getting that attention. They're still getting the information they need to get. It's not taking you hours to do. And that is another thing that I hear from students, that they really appreciate the extensive feedback. And it really does improve their work later, so it saves you time later down the line as well. Intelligent discussion board posts and responses. So I'm going to talk about this meme here. This is someone's tweet. College online discussion board. Emily, the sky is blue. Me, Emily, I totally agree with what you said. I like how you use the color blue as a form of imagery to describe the sky. That was such a powerful statement you said, Emily. So a few things here that we'll probably all find familiar if we've done discussion boards. It's poorly written. There's a run-on sentence. She didn't say anything new. She complimented and agreed and rephrased. And that's one of the reasons discussion boards are so inorganic, is students were like, oh, what am I going to say to do my two responses? Hey, that's a great thing you said. I agree with that as well. So I talk to my students about how to make intelligent, differentiated discussion board posts. And I give them different ideas. I'm like, you can offer an illustrative example of what your classmate is saying. You can apply a different concept from our readings to what the classmate is saying. Hey, I see you picked this method. What about this one? This might work as well. Or here is something that you didn't consider about this other method. You can ask a probative question about the topic to get your classmates thinking in another way. You can even respectfully disagree with a classmate and support your differing opinion. And that's something you rarely see, is because they don't feel comfortable with disagreeing. But those are ideas that I give them. And that's worked out very well as well. I have students who have told me, this is the first time I've really learned a lot on the discussion board. And this really makes sense. At first, I was sort of annoyed that I had to actually give good responses, but now I see the reason for this. And we really did help each other and learn from each other. So those are some ways to keep them engaged. That engage, all of those things, engage them with you and engage them with each other. So the proof is in the feedback. So I have mentioned things that I've heard from students about this, and things that other professors who have tried some of these techniques have told me. So something that I particularly liked was a student that said that they enjoyed the class. And even though they, as a human being, would love to get away with doing less, they felt it was fulfilling about being held to a standard, and they felt that someone believed in them. So that came from a student who was referring in a larger comment to the amount of feedback they received, and the fact that she had specifically mentioned how they were expected to really do intelligent discussion board posts, and being asked by the professor to think about topics in a different way. The next student had mentioned, the great feedback and constructive criticism. Several mentioned videos and how, we wish more of them did these videos. So you end up with happy students who feel like they have learned, and also feel like someone has believed in them and thought that they could do the work. And so you're reaching through the computer and really telling them, I see you, I'm here for you, I will help you. And even if you're a little tougher, you will find that these students are more engaged, that they learn as well as they would have in a face-to-face class, that they're engaged with you, they're engaged with each other, and they're really getting something out of the classes. So I'm going to go ahead and stop the sharing now, and I hope that everyone has a terrific day and a great rest of your semester. All right, thank you. Bye.